Such a time as this. Now, here's your host, Johnnette Williams.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams, and I am very happy to be with you today. I certainly am. I am back here in Alabama today, and I praise and thank God for a safe flight and a flight that was on time. Last evening, I was out there at a very, very nice little restaurant in the outskirts of Birmingham called Vecchio's, and I was there for a theology on tap, and one of the leaders and the leader for the evening is somebody that you all know. It's our call screener, Matt Gubensky, and he had invited me to speak. And boy, we had a nice crowd of young adults, and they were very attentive, and they asked good questions. And three young ladies came up to me afterwards, and they were just so delightful to chit-chat with, as were all of the others who I chatted with through the course of the evening. But I just wanted to give a shout-out to Caroline. I wanted to give a shout-out to Eve, and I wanted to give a shout-out to Jessie, lovely young women, very eager to grow in their life of faith, and we want to do everything we can to help young adults grow in their life of faith. And to that end, I invite all of you to get out there and check out our online study that will be coming up in the near future this fall. It will be a study on our foundational study series, Women of Grace, and we want for you to join us. We certainly do. I mean, we have a great opportunity right now in the world, and you say, well, gee, John, and it doesn't look like there's a lot of opportunities in the world. Well, that's just when God likes to do big things. When all seems hopeless, when all seems lost, oh my goodness sakes, what does God do? He comes down in might, and he comes down in power, and he uses his people to make and carve a path through the misery of the time to bring his abundant life to others. And so we want to invite you to join us for all of our Women of Grace events that we have in person, as well as the ones that we have online. Our studies we offer in person and online. I would love to get a Women of Grace foundational study going right here in the Birmingham area in a big way. So if you're listening to me and you're here in the Birmingham area, do get in touch with us at Women of Grace. Let's see what we can do together. We've got a couple of people here who are really geared up that were with us at our beautiful Women of Grace annual retreat at Malvern, and I know that they're getting ready to go. So Olivia and Cindy, we're going to strap those boots on and we're going to get out there. But I do want to invite all of the young women that were there to join us in our efforts at Women of Grace that were there at Theology of Tap last night, Theology on Tap. So all of that being said, it was a lovely evening, and I was grateful for the opportunity. So thank you, Matt Gubensky. I really do appreciate you. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. That's the way that you can join us right here on Women of Grace Live. Also want to let you know that we're available for you out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Simply use the chat feature there to get your question, comment, insight, inspiration, or word of encouragement up on our board. Jeff Burson, our producer and social media manager, will trot on out there and he'll retrieve it and he'll get it up there. Matt is on the phone, so please do give him a call. Again, the toll-free number for you if you're here in North America is 833-288-3986. That's 833-288-EWTN. And if you're outside of North America, we've got a number for you, and that number is country code 1-205-271-2985. That's country code 1-205-271-2985. Don't be shy. Give it a try. Don't delay. Call right away, because today is Wednesday, and you know what Wednesday is? It is Wacky Wednesday. Sue Brinkman is with us, and we're going to talk about all of those strange things that we see happening in the popular culture today, and unfortunately within some of our religious organizations, and I have to say within our own Catholic Church. So we want for you to listen up. We will answer your question about any topic having to do with this particular issue. We're talking about the New Age, of course. We're talking about things occult. We're talking about Eastern Oriental mysticism. We're talking about a lot of these things. It's an interesting thing. When you're in rough straits in a cultural setting, it just seems that this is when the evil one likes to take advantage of the opportunity, and he kicks his heels up. When there is a culture that is drifting away from the one true God through all kinds of isms, depending upon the day and the time that the culture is in existence. It's going to be different isms and it's going to be different heresies. But in our day and time, our culture is riddled with numbers of them, everything that runs from secularism to humanism to relativism to materialism to consumerism. Name an ism, it is alive and well in this culture today. So when you begin to strip God away from the cultural mindset, when you begin to prohibit him in any numbers of ways from, the active recognition of him as a people, then the evil one jumps in there with all kinds of false spiritualities. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that we as human persons are created with a body and a soul. And that soul is meant to be filled with the things of the Lord. That soul is to be ignited by his own divine life. And when we are rejecting that, that soul is still going to hunger for some contact with that which is greater than it is. And it will fill it with all kinds of diabolical machinations and diabolical temptations and all kinds of new age, heterodox, unorthodox, what else do I want to say? What other word can I attach to that? Anti-God ways of thinking, practices, rituals, and modalities. And that's what we have today. And that's why these things are so popular. They're so popular because we have stripped God away from a cultural acknowledgement of who he is and who he is meant to be in our lives personally, but also in our life corporately. And I think that we can look at some of the steps that we have taken in Western civilization in past decades. I mean, let's go back to the 60s. I mean, and all of this started way before then. It's just that it became so apparent in the 60s. The actual coming out of the shadows, into broad daylight happened in the 60s. And we can just go back that far and see where we have digressed from all that is God honoring, all that is God promoting within our culture. And we see that with prayer being taken out of the public schools. We see it where, and I'm going back now, 2, 3, 4 decades, where nativity sets could not be set up, on public property or in front of, your governmental offices. We began to see it where there was a marginalization of mores being taught in our school system, an acknowledgement of the Ten Commandments, anything that had to do with the reality of a triune God began to be stripped away. And so we end up in the situation that we're in today, where we have laws that have been enacted by our government that are so anti-God, that are so opposed to the will of the Father, so opposed to the commandments that he gives us, so opposed to the beatitudes of our Lord. And yet it'll all be turned around to make it sound as if it's doing all of those things. But in reality, you scratch below the surface a little bit, and you see the hoof prints of the evil one right there. So that's why we do Wacky Wednesday. We don't want you to fall victim to what's going on in the culture today. So give us a call at 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. That's the way that you can join us live here on Women of Grace Live. Coming right back at you. Stay with us.
Find out how you can help start a Catholic radio station where you live, powered by the truth of the Church and EWTN's dynamic radio programming. Email Steve at this address, radio@EWTN.com.
Hi, I'm Greg Willits from RosaryArmy.com.
And I'm Jennifer Willits, his wife.
In today's world, there's an urgent need for all of us to join together in prayer.
We can pray for our families and friends, our church, and for peace in our world.
In Rosarium Virginis Mariae, Pope John Paul II first directed his appeal to pray the rosary to those who lead the church.
He said, through your own personal experience of the beauty of the rosary, may you come to promote it with conviction.
The rosary has been a source of strength strength for Christians in troubled times for centuries. John Paul II said, "I look to all of you, brothers and sisters of every state of life, to you Christian families, to you the sick and elderly, and to you young people, confidently take up the Rosary once again." Find out more about the Rosary at rosaryarmy.com.
And you can listen to our shows, Adventures in Imperfect Living, Catechism Class, and more at rosaryarmy.com and wherever you find your favorite podcast.
EWTN's religious catalog has great summer reading for kids. What Color is Heaven is a scriptural picture book that is visually stunning, revealing brilliant colors found in the Bible. It's one of many great summer reading suggestions for kids from EWTN Religious Catalog. For more, visit EWTNRC.com today.
Call to Communion.
Masked Appeal.
EWTN Live.
Catholic Connection.
No one does Catholic radio like EWTN.
Yes, there it is. That's the theme song for Wacky Wednesday here on Women of Grace Live. You hear it every Wednesday. It also lets you know that Sue Brinkman is with us, and Sue is our New Age researcher at Women of Grace. She provides us with all of the answers to your questions in blog form on our website. You can get out there to womenofgrace.com, or you can simply go to newage.womenofgrace.com. It'll take you directly there. And it is all organized by topic area, so you can search any question that you might have, or you want to know more about a certain kind of thing that you're seeing out there. You can find out about it, and I would be most appreciative if you would do that, because we want for you to be a voice for truth in our day and time. That's why God's given you life now, to proclaim the good news of his Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, Lord, Savior, Messiah, Redeemer, all of those things. So we invite you to get out there and check it out. While you're out there, you can click on library. Sue also has podcasts that are reserved for you there in our library. You'll see it'll come up. It's called Grace Under Fire, Exposing the Darkness. And she addresses a lot of those same topics, but here she does it basically in video form, right, in podcast form, as opposed to written in a answer to a question. So we suggest you go out there and take a look at that. And hey, Sue, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. How about you?
Oh, I am just dandy. Thank you. So happy to have you with us today, as I am every single Wednesday. And, I want to mention again, Sue is a third order Carmelite, and she gave us such a beautiful Benedictine enrichment seminar at Malvern a couple of weeks ago on the science of weakness, a journey into the life and teachings of St. Therese of Lisieux. So we hear her on Wednesdays talking about all of this kind of stuff, but I want you to know that, this is the formation of her life is Carmelite. So that's good to know. It's good to know. So we really appreciate that. I want to get to David right away, and then I want to get into our topic, because Dave called in towards the end of the program yesterday, and we couldn't get him on. So I want to get to him, and I know that the calls are going to start coming in on another topic. So let's get to Dave really fast. Hey, David, how are you?
Hi, I called because mainly the topic was supposed to be New Age, and I wanted to see if I could cut to the chase as quickly as possible, because the whole theme of pride goeth before a fall is related to this New Age topic. Several months back, you had a priest on who happens to be a friend of mine. And he was trying to convince me that I could learn life lessons from Harry Potter. I said no. My spiritual director said no. Now he's trying to get me to watch Last Airbender, and my spiritual director said anime is made by pagans. So you might want to address that issue at some point. But after all the scary stories that I've heard about people having bad experiences, even innocently getting involved in the New Age, I'm grateful that my brief experience with a health teacher in high school encouraging yoga as if it's generic for exercise, which seems to be a trend these days. It seems to be going to generic like Xerox. Fortunately, nothing seems to have happened, although I wonder with all the problems I've had in my life. But there was a story about 100 years ago that the my spiritual director is in that order, about a priest that arrogantly demanded information that was irrelevant to an exorcism, and then a demon threatened to take his soul if he persisted in trying to get information that he didn't need. And then he left the priesthood, disappeared from the radar screen, never to be heard from again. So, I mean, this priest was trying to convince me that I'm strong enough. I am, I'm mature enough to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff watching Last Airbender. And, and I'm like, no, that's foolish, and I told him these stories. But, please warn people, you cannot argue with the devil and outwit the devil. He's smarter than we are.
Truly.
Exactly.
Yeah, and David, thank you, because I think that you're bringing up some very good points that are very important, and I think that that's true, Sue. I think that a lot of people wander into these things and think that, their faith is strong enough or they can resist it. We're never supposed to engage in conversation with the evil one.
No.
We're never supposed to do that. But we have to. What do I want to say? Respect is the wrong word. I can't think of another word, though. We have to have a healthy regard, maybe, for the powers of darkness. They're not stronger than God. But the fact of the matter is they can be stronger than we are if we are not under the protection of God's presence in our life, which comes to us by way of grace, if we're not in a state of grace. And we never can allow that seed of pride to begin to blossom in us where we think we can take on powers and principalities.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's terribly dangerous to have any kind of communication at all with the devil. You shouldn't even engage in that at all. He's going to get into your head. And once he does that, it's very difficult to get it out of your head, what he's taught you. So you need to be very, very careful about that. And that I just shudder anytime people say, oh, my faith is strong enough. I can do yoga. I can do this. I just shudder. I shiver inside. I pray for that person, because that is the wrong attitude to have about yourself, that, oh, my faith is strong enough. Why? Because you're depending on yourself. You're not really depending on God. And then just thinking that you can throw yourself into a dangerous situation, such as confronting with the devil, and then that God is going to protect you. If you're not in a state of grace, you're playing with fire there. And that's presumption. You can't really do that. You're testing God. You're tempting God in that particular situation. So you have to be really careful. And Dave is right. People don't have a very intelligent or a very, I want to say, adult idea of Satan. They don't really have a good knowledge of him. They get all their stuff off the internet and Hollywood movies, and it's all a bunch of fluff. The devil, might as well just be as harmless as like the symbol on your Dirt Devil vacuum. They don't get into anything about him. And what are the qualities of a preternatural being? What kind of powers do those beings have? How can those powers be used against us? This is the kind of things that people need to understand and to learn. And once they do, they're much less prone to be deceived by him because they see him coming. So the last thing he wants you to do is take up a serious study of that subject by turning to the church and the writings of the church, also the writings of some of the exorcists like Gabriel Amorth. There's so many exorcists out there who have written so many good books about demons and demonology. You have Adam Bly's written several books on that. I highly recommend his work. You need to educate yourself with serious literature. Get off the internet. Never mind the movies. Get into some real solid study, and then I think you're going to be able to learn things that are going to be put to good use, especially in this culture where the devil's everywhere. I mean, we just, heard about this DJ, with the World Youth Day and the demonic rave thing that was going on over there. I mean, people are just doing this stuff and they're thinking, hey, everything's fine and don't worry about it. He can't hurt me. And they just don't have a very mature, that's the word I was looking for, mature regard for Satan. They just don't.
Yeah. No, and it's very, very dangerous, very dangerous. And I want to recommend, too, that we, Women of Grace, if you go to our store that's on our website, womenofgrace.com, we have a series of books written by the chief exorcist of the Archdiocese of Manila in the Philippines, Father Sakia, and he was with us not at this past Women of Grace annual retreat, but last year's Women of Grace annual retreat. And we did a whole retreat on spiritual warfare, and our whole Benedicta was on that topic. We carried that theme over into our retreat itself, and Sue, you presented at that retreat along with Adam Bly, along with Father. I spoke, and Tom Sullivan spoke. We had and Kathleen Beckman spoke. I think there were 6 of us that spoke, and it was really, I think, a very concentrated look at these things, and people were really edified in the sense that they grew in a deeper knowledge and recognition. And I just want to mention that those books of Father Sakia's are only available here in the United States through Women of Grace. So you might want to get out there and check them out. They're really good as well. And your compendium, I want to recommend that. We have that for you at our website too, and that's Sue's compendium on the New Age. Learn to discern: is it Christian or New Age? And it's a compendium, and I mean it goes alphabetically and digs into every topic by alphabet, in alphabetical order. So it's quite helpful. It's a great resource. If you're a priest listening today, I would recommend it as a resource that you keep on your desk. Also, I think it would be great to have that compendium in the confessional, because every confessional should have it, because people come in and they have questions, and so I mean, really and truly, very few people have the opportunity to do the research that you've done. You've done all the work, so they can consult what you've researched, and your research is very top notch. I mean, it's very deep. You do not just look at the surface. You dig. So I really want to recommend that compendium for you. And again, we've got it. I really, EWTN's Religious Catalog probably has it too.
Yes, it does.
I know they don't have Father Sakia's books, but I know that they probably have your compendium. So either of the two places, EWTNRC.com or out there at our website, womenofgrace.com, in our store, you can order those books. And I know that they're going to do be a great help to you. And Adam's books, I'm sure. We have them at both places too. So yeah, we've got, we don't want to be terrified by this subject. We don't want to have an unhealthy curiosity in it, but we do need to have, some type of education with regard to it. And it's to that end that we do this show. Now, we received a letter, and I want to get into this, and I want to thank you, Dave. That was an excellent call, and I really do appreciate it. We're inviting you to call us too, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. The phone lines are open for you. Sue Brinkman with us today. We're talking about the New Age because it's Wednesday. We do this every Wednesday. We call it Wacky Wednesday. We're the Wacky Wednesday women. We love alliteration around here. Yeah. So, but Sue, you got a question from somebody about the librarian at their parish who is stocking the library with books that are very questionable.
Yes, and this was a very disturbing letter that she sent, because apparently the head of the librarian, she's a recent convert, and she said that if the Vatican has not excommunicated these certain authors, then their books have to be okay.
Oh, dear Lord.
And I thought, no, well, we really don't have a list of that, and that's not necessarily necessary here. But one of them was Anthony DeMello.
Well, he has been banned by the Vatican.
Well, yes, he has, but he hasn't been excommunicated. You see, this is what I have found. They put this really high bar on you to say, well, if it's so bad, why hasn't the church said so? They do that with yoga all the time. How come the church hasn't issued any statements on yoga? I think, read the faith, and you're going to find out why yoga is, first of all, it's Hindu. There's your first clue that you should really look into that a little bit. But they put a really high bar on there that they kind of figure you're not going to be able to reach. And that's what this librarian is trying to do, so that she can get out of being able to do what she wants to do, and stock the books that she wants to stock. And, like you said, Anthony DeMello's got very questionable opinions. He has, at some point in his career, his books were okay, but then they went off the rails. Same thing as what happened with Thomas Merton. And if you read our blog on Thomas Merton, you'll also see the list of the books that you're supposed to be very aware of with him. But the church never excommunicated Thomas Merton. So, I mean, it's some of DeMello's books contain a caution. There's a statement that was put out about him by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. I mean, there's something you can give to the librarian and say, here, read this. I mean, you're a librarian. You should know this stuff in a Catholic library. You should be aware of these kinds of things and what books to look into. The other person she brings up is Matthew Fox.
Well,
and
Matthew
I thought, are
Fox.
you kidding?
Now, Matthew Fox, though, I think he was defrocked. I'm going to have to check that. But Matthew Fox, Creation Spirituality, was banned. And they gave him opportunity, I believe, to change his stance, and he didn't. That's my recollection of that.
Now, he was dismissed from his order.
Oh,
he was dismissed from his order because of his outlandish writings and teachings. He is now actually a practicing Episcopalian priest. And I think, it's very worth noting that a priest is not dismissed lightly from their religious order. So the librarian can be quite sure that this man's writings do not belong in a Catholic library. There's also a bunch of stuff, and you find this in libraries everywhere, Catholics as well. Centering prayer. They're teaching this method that stresses blanking the mind. Read the catechism. Okay? It calls it an erroneous notion of prayer. That's number 2726 in the catechism. Any method of prayer that stresses blanking the mind is erroneous. And that's what centering prayer does, because it's based on what? Transcendental meditation. That's what it is. It's a spawn of TM is exactly what that is. And then they've got books in there by Joyce Rupp, Joan Chittister.
My goodness.
These are women who support women's ordination, what the church has roundly condemned. Why do you need excommunication in order to see that these people's writings are problematic? I mean, it's what, like I said, this is just a person, I think, kind of like putting up a little smoke screen there and just saying, oh, well, unless it has that, I'm not going to pull them off the shelf. My advice to the people here is, okay, if you can't fight it, first of all, I suggest that they write a letter to the bishop and they list the books that are in there that they find questionable.
Right.
And then consider donating a bunch of good books to the library, and at least you're going to get some good books in there that way. If you can't get the other ones removed, at least look at all the wonderful books that are out there, the writings of St. John Paul, G.K. Chesterton, Fulton Sheen, Scott Hahn. There's so many wonderful Catholic books. What do you need DeMello and Matthew Fox for? Why do you need
especially
Joyce Rupp?
since
it's just...
especially since so many concerns have been leveled. And I've pulled this up online on DeMello. It was June 24th, interesting, 1998. And it was then Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who was head of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, that issued, his concerns about DeMello's writing. So the point is, why do we, it baffles me that people will be a legalist in some ways, and then in other ways will absolutely, fly to the other end of the spectrum. And I don't know about this librarian in particular, but people will say, well, the church has no right to tell me that I can't use birth control. But then they'll say, well, unless the church has, excommunicated somebody, then they're okay. It's like, wait a minute.
Yes.
You want the church to pronounce in one instant when it suits you and not in another instant when it suits you, and that's like having two heads on your shoulders. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But we do that as people, but it's sad. So what do you think this woman ought to write her bishop?
Absolutely. Write her bishop and then make a nice big donation of wonderful Catholic books and make sure you get some good stuff in there.
That sounds great. Well, we've got Linda with us from Dayton, Ohio, and I'm going to ask you to hold there, Linda. We're going to go to a break, and when we come back, more with Sue Brinkman. It's Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday. Call in with your questions about any oddities that you see out there, or if you want clarification about something. We're here to help you out in all of those ways. So do give us a call. Toll free for you here in North America, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986, or go out to EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and or Facebook page. Got a question there from Claire, too. We're going to be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Debbie Georgiani. Adam Bly and I invite you to join us as we tackle the spirit world on EWTN Radio. Adam has assisted at thousands of solemn exorcisms and resolutions of hauntings. He also reaches out to educate people on the paranormal and the occult in our culture. Join us Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern for the Spirit World on EWTN Radio.
Psalm 1, verse 1 says, "Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scorners." What does that mean? Don't hang around with bad people? No. According to G.K. Chesterton, it means something much better than that. He says that there are certain people who, because they are really pure, create a good atmosphere around themselves. They are truly children of light, and that light shines on everything they touch. So it's not that hanging around bad people makes us bad. It's that being righteous can help make the people around us righteous too.
Spend more time with the Apostle of Common Sense. Visit chesterton.org for more information and go to EWTNRC.com to discover more books and programs written and inspired by G.K. Chesterton.
Never miss any of your favorite EWTN television or radio shows when you have the Amazon Fire TV player. All you need is a high-speed internet connection, a TV, and the Amazon Fire TV player.
Matt Swaim here. Tomorrow on the Sunrise Morning Show, we'll celebrate the feast of St. Lawrence of Rome, the great deacon and martyr of the early church. Now back to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
The Women of Grace phone lines are open. 1-833-288-EWTN. 1-833-288-3986.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Women of Grace Live. It's Wednesday. Sue Brinkman is with us. It's a wacky Wednesday. We talk about all of the strange things that we see going on out there in the world today, and we're inviting you to join us. We will take your questions or comments today. Yes, we will. 833-288-EWTN. That's the toll-free number for you right here in North America. It's 833-288-3986. Also available for you at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. We're going to get right back to our phone lines, but first I want to tell you about some good things that are happening at Women of Grace. I mentioned to you that last evening, I told you this yesterday, last evening we were having our Quick Start Facilitator training, and that it was in the evening last night, and we're repeating that again on August the 10th, right? So today's the 9th Feast of St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross. Please do pray for us, St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross. She's very dear to us at Women of Grace. But this Quick Start training is going to begin tomorrow daytime at 11 a.m. and it should end around 12 p.m. So if you are interested in becoming a facilitator for our Women of Grace Foundational Study and feel like you would like to have some information about it and maybe, just get a little more insight into what a facilitator does and how it works with our program, then we want you to join us. It's a free event, of course, and just get out to our website and you can sign up for it right there. Tuesday, I've been telling you about this, Kitty Cleveland and her Morning Glories are going to be hosting a beautiful retreat day at Our Lady of Hope in Osaka, Mississippi. I'm going to be there all day, and we are going to have a beautiful, beautiful time celebrating the Feast of the Assumption of Our Lady, this beautiful holy day of obligation. And I'm going to be giving a couple of talks, music by Kitty. I'm sure she's going to be speaking too. It's just going to be lovely. So we invite you to get out to our website. You can click right at that website to register. We want you to join us there. I'm assuming she's still taking people. I don't know. I knew that she was filling up very quickly, but you might want to check that out. So that's what's going on in our world at Women of Grace. The phone lines are lighting up like crazy, Sue. So let's get to Linda right away. She's there in Dayton, Ohio, listening to us via Sacred Heart Radio. Good morning to you, Linda.
Good morning, Johnnette, to you and to Sue. And just quickly, thank you so much for all you do. It's so wonderful. My question is about something called the Akashic Files. I imagine Sue knows about it.
Yes.
Briefly, it just has to do with trying to access your past. Somehow out in the great unknown, some psychic is supposed to be able to access these files that have to do with one's past. And I'm sure it's New Age stuff, but I just wondered if she could explain it for us.
Yes.
So God bless you and thank you. I'm going to hang up and listen on the air.
Well, thank you, Linda. Thank you. Good question. Go ahead,
Thank
Sue.
you. It is a good one. We really haven't had a question on Akashic Records. The Akashic Records are supposedly a database of every thought, word, action, or idea that ever occurred in every universe in the past, present, and the future. And it stores these records from all life forms and entities, plants, animals, everything, including non-humans. And this is, of course, according to Theosophists. This is who came up with this idea about there being an Akashic record. And Theosophists believe, in some ancient secret brotherhood of spiritual adepts that they can refer to as Mahatmas and adepts and masters of wisdom, and that they're trying to revive. They're centered in Tibet, these spiritual masters, and Theosophists believe that they're going to revive an ancient worldwide religion. That's going to return and then replace all existing religions. And so they work with these adepts that's what Theosophists are. So that's where Akashic Records comes from. Okay. It comes from Theosophists. Now, they claim that there's all kinds of experts that back up the existence of it. You know who some of their experts are when I looked them up? The clairvoyant, Edgar Cayce, Linda Howe. She's an investigative journalist and ufologist who is known for advocating all kinds of conspiracy theories. So in other words, we don't have a whole lot of very good, solid sources back there. And one of the things that was out there just recently, an article in Medium, was somebody who said, "Oh, I don't believe in this Akashic Records." And then she went ahead and had an experience where she claimed through meditation, that's the only way you can access the records, is through meditation. That
not Christian meditation, by the way.
No, not Christian. It's all, mind blanking type stuff where you put yourself into an altered state and anything can come over and take over your will, any kind of spiritual being. So anyway, she was doing that and she just really had a life change. She said, I had a life-changing experience. She totally changed. She said she felt as if she was handed the keys to the universe. So here's what she's doing. She said, I only figured out how true this was after I experienced it. As if experience, which is subjective, has any bearing on whether or not something is true, right? Believing that we can discover truth through feelings rather than reason is known as transcendentalism. That's what that is. So the Akashic Records are pure fiction. They only exist in the imagination of those who wish to believe in them. There is no such thing as the Akashic Records. You can't access them through meditation. You can only get yourself into trouble by trying to access them through meditation. This one woman had a very, very happy experience, but trust me, this is something we come across all the time. Satan always starts out that way. He gives you a wonderful experience. Why? So you'll come back for more. And he's just waiting for you to do that. Mm-hmm. So you want to avoid anything like this. It's outlandish. It certainly is not Christian. It's about as far from being Christian as you can get, other than just being solid occult. So it's fiction, and I wouldn't even go near it.
No. Well, and I think it's worth mentioning that the Theosophical Society was founded by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, who was a Russian woman, immigrated here to the United States. I think it was around 1875 or so, met this Colonel Olcott, and they formed this society, which is basically a syncretistic society. They take Western occultism and blend it with Eastern Oriental mysticism, hence the reference to Tibet, and they came up with their own perspective of the world through these occult leanings and Eastern Oriental mysticism. And she herself was a psychic, and it was reported that at the end of her life, she wanted freed. I mean, the demonic presences were so strong, she wanted freed from it, but she said it was too late. She could not be freed from it, and she ended a torture. She ended with a very tortured death. So these, like you're saying, Sue, the evil one always entices us by giving us something that makes us feel very special and very elite, something that's very pleasant, something that we can deem as helpful. But in the end, it is just a lure to put us into bondage. And that's what she experienced. You can go out there and do some research on her if you want to, friends. Not that you necessarily have to, but it's a you don't want to get near the Theosophical Society. That's all I want to say. It's not a good thing.
Yes.
Well, let's get to Maria. Maria is in Illinois today, listening to us via WSFI. How are you, Maria?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for calling.
Okay. My question is, I attend one of those 12 steps programs, and we meditate almost every day. And actually, through that meditation, I'm restoring my Catholic faith. So my question is all meditation and all yoga? I'm thinking in taking some yoga classes too, because I'm struggling with some disabilities. And but I just heard that yoga and meditation is against the Catholic faith. Is that the case, or?
Okay, Sue, go ahead.
Well, yoga is based in Hinduism. Okay, so you can't be involved in Hinduism in any way, and it depends on what's going on in your yoga class, whether or not they're introducing a lot of Hinduism, which they do, and some of their meditation practices are Eastern meditation, non-Christian Eastern meditation, and that is mind blanking, and you put yourself into an alternate state of consciousness. Which is not something that we consider to be meditation. That is not Catholic meditation. And if you go to the section on prayer in the Catechism, it's got beautiful descriptions of our prayer and the way that we are supposed to meditate and pray to protect ourselves from putting ourselves into these states. You can achieve a very beautiful, peaceful, joyful state without going into an alternative state by praying to Jesus and by meditating on him, by practicing mental prayer. These are some of the different methods. And being a Carmelite, I mean, that's what we do for a living is pray. So, I mean, meditation is one of the things we do. We meditate with Scripture. We'll take the Scripture and we'll read a little bit. And as soon as something kind of grips our heart, we stop and we think about that and we wait for a communication from God in some way, maybe a word of some kind, or just you'll feel an impulse to continue reading, and you start to just think and elaborate in your mind on perhaps being in that gospel scene, being with our Lord. Then in mental prayer, it's just one-on-one. You're just talking to him. You're just sitting there. And I use my imagination because I'm a very imaginative person. Then I just sit and imagine him sitting with me. And I just talk to him. I say, this is what happened to me today, Lord, and that sort of thing. I talk heart to heart with my Lord, and then I give him some quiet time where he can respond if he wants to, and he often does do that. So Catholic meditation is nothing like what you would find in a yoga class. If they are meditating, not all yoga classes do that. Some of them don't do any of that kind of stuff, but many of them do, and it's usually surrounding the Om chant. And
Well,
the Om is go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and in addition to that, Sue, even if the meditation isn't part of it, we have concerns about the practice of yoga itself, because yoga is not an exercise and it's not there to help your body. It is a spiritual practice of Hinduism that's meant to take you to an altered state of consciousness, where you feel as though you're merging with the all is one. And those positions are the positions of Hindu gods. So there is the meditative aspect that does happen in some of the yoga classes, but then in addition to that, just the practice itself is basically putting yourself into the spiritual belief system of a non-Christian religion, which we are not to do at all. It's a sin against the first commandment. Of course, you have to know it's a sin. So now, Maria, you kind of know that there are concerns about the whole of it. So,
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and Sue, I love the fact that you took her to the catechism. That's where to go to learn what. Listen, in praying the rosary, you want to meditate. You want to be present to God. Go pray the rosary. It's fantastic. It has been proven to actually lower your blood pressure. So it's very good for you.
Absolutely. I mean, vocal prayer, contemplative prayer, mental prayer. There's so much more to Catholic prayer than what most Catholics, unfortunately, understand. And if you go to that section in the catechism, it's got beautiful things to say on that subject. The Carmelite saints also do that. Saint Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, Edith Stein, she wrote so many beautiful things, so many beautiful reflections on the life of Christ. Her books, of course, her feast day is today. Teresa Lisieux, Teresa of Avila, John of the Cross, they've just written the book on these subjects, on Catholic mysticism, and boy, they really will wow you. You won't find anything attractive about Eastern stuff after you really delve into what we have, because we have the whole glory of the church in our tradition, and just you have to sink your teeth into that. And I'll tell you what, it wraps around your heart and won't let go.
That's true.
I'm here to tell you that's what happens.
It's true. And, and I think Dave mentioned something too that pertains here. Yoga is like a fad that has held the attention of popular culture now for probably 40 years, maybe more. And, it's a fad right now. People. I would love to see a fad develop for the rosary. I'd love to see a fad develop for, mental prayer. But it's captured and it's popularized. It's popularized, yoga is, through, the media and social media and all of these different ways. So it just seems like everybody's doing it. So therefore it must be good and therefore it must be benign. No, that is not necessarily the case. Let's get to Mary in Sioux Falls called, and she left a message for us, Sue. She says, please remind the listeners, and of course this is in reference to the woman whose librarian is stocking the library with books that are really not good books. Please remind the listeners to start with a priest. Most priests hardly have time to give the sacraments. There's a good chance he isn't aware what's in the parish library, so please tell him before you go to the bishop. I was assuming that the woman that wrote that letter to you already had done that, but maybe not. That's a good word.
And she did. I didn't mention that on the air, but she did. The pastor was very liberal, was a very good friend of the Centering Prayer, the late Father Menninger, and he was not. He didn't do anything. But Mary is right, and I think that's a good point that she's making there. There is a hierarchy in the church, and you should respect it. And Mary's absolutely right in saying that you should go to the priest first. First, go to your pastor, give him your concerns, let him know what's going on, and then if nothing happens that satisfies your request or your concern, then go to the bishop and reference the fact that you did speak to your pastor about it, so that he knows that the pastor is aware of it. So that the two of them, if they want to talk about it, they're both on the same page. But yes, Mary, thank you for that. It's a good thing to point out. In this particular case today, she had already done that step. I just happened to not read the entire letter because it was a little bit lengthy, so I didn't read the whole letter on the air. But yeah, she had already tried that.
Good. Very good. And then Cynthia out there on YouTube is asking for prayers as she has to talk to her bishop soon because her parish priest is allowing yoga at the church, saying that it's only exercise and he's not going to, take it out. It's going to stay. And she's concerned because so many are being deceived thinking yoga is okay. One of the things that you frequently mention, Sue, is the fact that, ask a Hindu what they think about hatha yoga, which is the exercise yoga in people's minds, which it's not an exercise at all. Ask a Hindu what they think about it. They're going to tell you straight up, it's not an exercise.
It's not. It was never designed to be an exercise. That had nothing to do with exercising yoga. It's a spiritual practice. That's what it is. It's like saying to exercise your tricep, you do the sign of the cross. That's not why we do the sign of the cross. That's not what it is. It never was that, and it never will be. You can call it whatever you want, but it still is a Christian symbol that has a very powerful meaning to Catholics and Christians. Absolutely, it's what Hindus will tell you is it's cultural appropriation. That's what's going on here. We're trying to strip all the religion out of yoga, try to make it into exercise, even though we can never do that because it was never created to be that way. And I mean, if he does want to have the yoga there, you might suggest allowing for you to put into the back of the church copies of our pamphlet on that. Yoga, is it just exercise? It's very nicely done. It just gets right to the point. It addresses all the common things about yoga. Oh, it's just exercise. Hey, I'm doing Christian yoga. I'm not worshiping false gods. It just has short little paragraphs on each. Ask him if you could please put that in the back of the church. Don't do it without his permission, but you can do that. I would send you the PDF, and you can copy it for free and make as many copies as you want. I would suggest saying to him, but if you're going to have it here, there are opposing views about yoga. Both views are valid. And if he's going to have the one thing going there, how about if you have the counter view available also to members of the parish? That's what I would suggest doing. And you can get to me at S. Brinkman, BRINKMANN, that's 2 N's on the end of my name, at womenofgrace.com, and I'll send you the PDF to that little brochure, and you can see if he'll permit you to put that out in church. And that way you can at least get a counter argument out there to the people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We want to get to Colleen. We're running close on time here. I can't believe it. Colleen is a first-time caller from Buffalo, New York. Welcome, 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 Colleen.
Thank you so much. I have a question for you. My sister yesterday told me she was reading the writings of Saint Germain, that he was a canonized saint in Paris. And when I looked into it a little bit more, I hope I was correct in telling her that those were not from Saint Germain the saint. So I was wondering if you ever heard of the Discourses of Saint Germain. Yes. And and then when I finally did convince her that it wasn't from the saint, that it sounded like New Age philosophy, she said, well, what does it matter as long as it's praising God? So I wasn't really sure how to answer that.
No, it does matter enormously. That is not, you are correct. First of all, you are correct. The discourses are coming from what's known as the Ascended Master, Saint Germain. And that is coming from an organization that is called the I Am Discourse, the I Am Discourses. And this is all into Ascended Masters, retreats of the Great White Brotherhood and all that kind of stuff. It's not something that should be taken seriously. It's not Saint Germain. I'm glad you brought the subject up. I don't think we have a blog about it, and I think I'll put one out there because it's a good thing to warn people about that this is false. It is not from Saint Germain, and it doesn't matter what it says in praise of the Lord. I mean, Satan knows how to imitate angels of light, right? He knows how to do stuff like that and to say things that really sound great, but he's lying. So you have to be very careful with it. And thank you for doing the research. Thank you for taking the time to do that research, because a lot of people don't bother, Colleen, and you did. And you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I just want to mention too that when those writings refer to the Lord, they're not talking about our Lord. They're not talking about Jesus Christ, true God, true man. They're not talking about the Trinitarian reality at all. It's their Lord. And we also, if you think about it, know that the evil one is the Lord of darkness, right? He rules over darkness. So you can't imagine or take for granted that the language that's being used is used in the same way with the same understanding as ours. And Ascended Masters, Sue, that comes right from Hinduism. The idea is that you are reincarnated until you reach perfection, until you gain true knowledge of your own godhood, and then you become an Ascended Master who, basically pours out wisdom and information so that other people can come to see that they are their own God. So this whole notion is very off center from anything that is Catholic. And wow, that's I had heard of that years ago, Sue. I didn't realize that was still something that people were paying attention to.
Yeah, and they are. And I'm telling you, got to be very careful with some of these different views of the saints. I know when Saint Hildegard, she's been hijacked by New Age enthusiasts. They have she created mandalas and she was all into this stuff. And what they're doing is they're twisting everything around. That's and they're making it look as though Hildegard was New Age when she never was.
That's right.
So you got to watch any modern biographies of Saint Hildegard or collections of her writings, just like these collections, these discourses of Saint Germain. They're really not coming from the church.
Well, it was another great Wacky Wednesday, Sue.
Yes, it
Thank you
was.
so very much. And friends, we're glad that you joined us today, inviting you to get out to our website, womenofgrace.com. Don't forget that beautiful offer Sue made. You can contact her at womenofgrace.com, and she'll send you that PDF if you'd like to have it. We'll be back with you again tomorrow. Until then, may the abundant life of Jesus Christ be yours, and may God richly bless you. Signing off, Johnnette Williams here for Women of Grace. Bye-bye now.
The most original Catholic